All right, and we are live. Wait for just a second. What's up, people? Party people.
There we are. Let me just share it to a couple pages. Her. How's it going, Ian?
Everything's fine with me. How about you two?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Aces.
Good.
For everybody who is just now joining, this is our good friend Ian of Atlanta. Not originally.
Not originally, no.
As you'll probably notice, we wanted to bring him on and talk to him a little bit, pick his brain about one of the locations that we will be visiting, the Titanic. He's going to talk about that and some of the cool stuff that he got there. One of the EVPs in particular, I think, that we got at the end of the night was yours, wasn't it, Ian?
No, I think Mike got that one on your little Whisperer, didn't you? At the very end of the evening?
Was it on yours, Mike?
Yep, I got that.
Yeah, that was the one where I think at the end of the evening, and we had the group session right by the giant the model of the Titanic. That's a fantastic model made by some 12-year-old kid. I can't remember the details, but an incredible model, about 12 foot long. And we were stood in that room, and I think Mike and a few others were asking questions. And one of the questions was, where were you going? Were you going back home? Were you going to work? And crystal clear, there's a female. She says Southampton, clear as anything. And the poignant thing about that EVP is that the Titanic set sail from Southampton, and that's interesting on its own. But the reality is, over 700 of the crew lived in Southampton, and over 550 of them died. They went down with the ship. So you had 550 Southampton locals went down on that ship. So it's not surprising that when you're asking, are you going home or are you going to work, that some spirit that if it's attached to any of those artifacts there is going to say Southampton. And that was as clear as anything, that female voice. And of course, the crew were the unfortunates. That they weren't first in line for the lifeboats. So I don't know how many crew died, something like 700, 800 crew died, of which 550 plus came from Southampton. And I did read some time ago that there was like one or two schools when half the parents of the children in that school died on that ship because they were close to where they were recruiting. And so the school was decimated. Two schools were decimated by half of the parents went down with that ship.
Wow.
Pretty tragic event.
Yeah, I mean, it was frozen before, so I don't know if you hit on this. It was frozen on my side, but I remember that. I mean, I had activity all night, that night in particular as well, but that was at the very end of the night. And it stands out because I remember you coming from the back of the room, Southampton.
Yeah. Yeah, and once you hear it, I mean, it's obvious, yeah.
Yeah, it's on our YouTube channel. So if you go to the Wraith Chasers YouTube channel, it is there. And I saw Christy is on here, and we couldn't figure out a way to play these while people are watching. But she had a real nice EVP, and I think it was that same night, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. That was in one of the upper levels where they had the violin. They recovered the violin from the lead violinist. Because everybody knows, I mean, it's one of those legends that the band played as the ship went down, and that's incredibly true. And it gives you some view of the character of the people that were on that ship, and maybe the character of people of that day and age. I just don't think anybody would be sat in the orchestra, next to each other in rows, playing the violins as the ship was going down, and people all around them screaming and losing their heads. But they played, and the violin from the lead violinist is in a glass case there. and next to it are big blow-up black and white pictures of the band, of the orchestra, I should say, including the owner of the violin. And Christy, I believe, and I think it was Shane, were asking questions about the violin. Were you playing this? Is it? And there's music playing in the background. There's a recording of the song, whether it's the song that they were playing, the tune that they were playing when it went down, I don't know. But a very poignant song. Yeah, I'm getting some feedback now. But anyway, they're playing it, and somebody says, whose violin is this? And a female voice in a whisper says, it's his. And we were standing by the picture of the owner of that violin.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, okay, because I know we're talking about this every week. We pump the Titanic because one of the biggest questions people ask all the time, do you believe spirits can attach to objects? And I always say, after visiting the Titanic and investigating there, I believe the answer is yes. So, not that this is a Q&A on you, Ian, but
no.
Just as a guest that visit, I mean, what was your beliefs what was your thing going in, and then did it change your belief system on it? Like, you're like, I don't know, it's a museum in Branson, or Pigeon Forge. What was your thing going in to leaving?
Right. Well, you know me, and anybody who met me enough times know I'm an annoying skeptic when it comes to this kind of thing, and I will try and debunk everything. And my initial thoughts leading up to that visit to the museum in Pigeon Forge was that this is a modern day building. It's not haunted. It's an artifact of a scaled down looking ship, part of the ship. It's a tourist attraction, and I'm being very cynical about it. I wanted to come along as a social event, but I was also keen to see some of the artifacts inside, and they're incredible. And we may touch on the artifacts later, but when I was sat in one of the lifeboats that was there, and somebody was talking about French, and I was in the lifeboat, and the person had come from France that was there, so that was an EVP. Then we get the violin, it's his. And to wrap up that night with the Southampton, if there are spirits that are doing that, and I can't think how those voices get onto tape, I can't think how they do it, then you've got to say that these spirits are attached to those artifacts. And you've done countless jails and hospitals and asylums where people have died, and you've got to think there are 1,500 plus souls, innocent souls, men, women, and children, went down on that ship, and knowing it's going to happen. And you've been there, you've seen these artifacts. There are books, there's pages of writing, loads of photographs. People would have been clutching on to those photographs of perhaps people they'd left at home. And that's where you think, if there's an attachment happening, that's when it would have happened. You'd think, if you're clutching something that's so close to you, a book, an artifact, or something, personal belonging, and there's thousands of those personal belongings that they've recovered, that's where you think that attachment must take place.
Yeah, like maybe whenever your life expels, some of that energy gets shot into the object, for whatever reason at your last moments.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you a scientific explanation. I don't know. I don't understand. And as I said, I was skeptical about the place when I went in. But the things that happened, the activity you had with all your devices going off, Mike, I mean, something was causing that. And I can't say a brand new building is haunted. So you have to think that this is the effect of something that is attached to those artifacts. And as I repeat myself, if there's a time when you are going to get attached to something, it's in your last moments, when you're maybe holding on to something that's near and dear to you, or a reminder of somebody that you're leaving home that you'll never see again. Very, very poignant when you look in those glass cases and you see photographs of names and families of little children, knowing that these were the ones that were in third class or second class that didn't make it to the lifeboats. Right. It's pretty upsetting if you sit back and think about it. All their names are up on the walls there.
Yeah, they actually give you a name. Like when you walk in, if you do the tour, they'll give you a name of someone who was on the ship, and then you go through the whole museum, and they give you the tour, and at the end of the tour, you'll see the big wall with all the names, and you find out if you lived or died, what class you were in,
Yeah.
upper, lower class, and then if you lived or died. It kind of, I mean, it's kind of a rush of emotion when you go through that place, just seeing some of the objects and knowing all these people perished in the same place, and just that outburst of emotion all kind of, I think, dispersed into some of these objects. And I know some people don't believe that it can, but also Pigeon Forge and Branson, they exchange these objects.
Right.
Sometimes they go to Pigeon Forge and then they'll trade with Branson, and you get the same effect at either museum. So I think, that says something.
Right, and you hit on the word emotion, and I think there was a lot of emotion there. We've been on lots of events, and people have a good laugh, and there's lots of laughing and joking because it's light-hearted, and you two particularly pride yourselves on being down-to-earth people who have a laugh and a joke and a drink or a bite to eat, and bad jokes maybe, Chris, with the people.
It worked.
But I felt at that place there wasn't so much levity. There was a lot of poignant atmosphere there, a lot of emotion where people are taking it in, and I just found it was somber, if that's the right word to use, and particularly at the end when we were all gathered there together and people were just fairly quiet, and I think an emotive moment, and I think the emotion does get to you when you realize all these names and faces and real people, and the sad story about the larger amount of or percentage of first class that made it to the lifeboats, and a much lower percentage of the second class made it, and a much lower again of the third class made it, and hardly any of the crew. The crew just stayed behind because that was the right thing to do. And these were all individuals, human beings with lives, loves, aspirations. It's a tragic place, and it's a real tragedy. And I think that those, I've not been to Branson, but the Pigeon Forge place certainly just brings it home to you.
Right. I mean, the first one we've been to is Branson. The very first time we were there, something that stands out to me, and I, of course, don't have that EVP anymore, but we got an EVP for, can't think of the exact name, let's say it was Robert. And we got it very clear, and then we got meter activity off of using this guy's name, and then we walked around the corner in a third class area, and on the wall was a photograph of somebody with a wedding ring in the frame, and it was Robert and whatever the last name. That wasn't his name, but it was the same name that we captured on EVP. And then the next time we were in the Branson location, I was talking about it, and I went around that same corner, and it wasn't there. And that's when I was asking the woman, this is what happened. She goes, well, some things stick and stay to each location, but she goes, a lot of the smaller things do travel back and forth. So I don't know how many Titanic museums there are, but so you could get something new each time you're there. I mean, who knows? But yeah. I don't know. Here's a question: as you were talking before, Ian, like, let's make up a name, Robert. If he perished on the Titanic, do you believe this Robert, whoever can, let's call it, haunt or visit or communicate elsewhere than Titanic? Maybe his previous home, maybe if it was an old school that's now abandoned, maybe it's a jail if he did time, or do you think he's locked to, like, stuck in that object, that teacup, that shoe, that wedding ring,
I mean, who knows? I mean, as I said, I've been skeptical about these things. I'm a bit like Brannon in the way I'm trying to find hard and fast evidence, but you've got to think that some of these things are attached to these objects. Your question was, can they move back home? I don't know. I mean, it's often a question. People go to a house where somebody famous lived, but they may not have died there. So does that person go back and haunt that place, if that's the right word? Do they come back to visit that place? Do they come back to visit as they were as a kid? Do people see this spirit as a child, maybe when they lived there? Or are you stuck where you died? I mean, because that's not always the case. You know, there are a lot of locations, the Lizzie Borden house, you know, and places like that. And I don't know much about that story, but there's certain places that are linked to an individual. Does that person haunt that location, or does that person? I don't know if Lizzie Borden died there. I don't know that, but I'm just trying to use that as an example. And I've often wondered about that when my father. Try not to make this too personal, but when my father died a few years ago, suffering from cancer, very, very frail, very, very, not how I remembered him. And unfortunately, those are my last visions of him. But I remember him mostly when he was younger. Now, do these spirits, when people see them, do they look like they were on their deathbed, or do they look like more like when they were healthy? I'm putting that one back to you. I mean, what's your understanding and experiences and thoughts of this?
That's a good question.
Yeah, well, you go with that one.
I mean, I don't think anybody knows. I mean, I know some people who have said that they've seen spirits of their daughter or a family member, son, mother, father, and the younger form, you know. So we have had that happen before. And then the most part, the majority, I think, is the latter, unfortunately, of, you know, seeing them as they were when they passed away. I don't know why, but, you know, it just seems to me in my experience, you know, more frequently you hear that, you know, you see a loved one or someone who passed on in the form that they were or how they were when they died, especially if it was a violent death, you know, if they died violently. Say, you know, people see soldiers at Civil War battlefields all the time. You know, they don't see them as they were young. They see them as they were in battle. So I think some of it has to do with the way you go and the energy that's dispersed when you go.
Right.
That's just me.
Well, it's like, okay, let's go with that on a Titanic. This is what I mean. We just did, prior to this, we just did a podcast. And one of the things we said, and we said it many, many times, anytime you think you have an answer, it probably just creates 10 more questions. It's like, there are no answers, so it's just throwing stuff out there. And using the Titanic Museum as an example, one of the piece of activity we had in third class, and we were moving equipment around the room. It's like where we put the whiskey bottles and playing music and like old Irish music and stuff. We were getting a lot of activity off that. So it seemed like good time dancing. Let's have a drink together. Maybe that's how they partied in third class. We've had little girls, it sounds like little kids or little girls' voices saying hello. But then Chad goes on weekends. Chad captured it, and it's also on, I think we also shared it to our YouTube channel, a disembodied scream. So it's like these spirits that may be attached to these objects. Everybody, whether you went down with the ship or passed away on the ship or not, I mean, it was a tragic event. So it's like, why are we having a good time? What appears to be having a good time drinking in third class? Little kids saying hello, you know, so it's like, what area are you? Is it really a little kid that maybe passed away on the ship, or is it an older person that, like Chris was saying, comes back in a younger form? It's like, there's just so many questions, you know?
Yeah, and the examples you just given there, it opens up more questions. You're hearing a scream, so is a spirit attached to something in there that was in his or her dying seconds and screaming and perpetually in that emotion of screaming? Or are there others who are quite happy, and you're playing some Irish music and they're happy to come along and join in and make and let you know that they're there? So
Yeah.
so that often doesn't make sense. So as I said, is the spirit screaming and in agony and in terror, or relaxed or enjoying the moment because you're playing music? Like you put trigger objects in some of your investigations. You want little children to play with toys. Now, does that mean the child's spirit is happy, or is that child's spirit really distraught? You know.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm going to play with a football. I'm dying. I don't know. I'm not trying to. I mean, I wasn't meant to make you laugh.
Throw the football back.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm having a bad day, all right? I don't want to touch that ball. I don't want to
right.
make the green light red. No, I get it. And that's why I think we like to bring a little levity when we investigate. You know, I
Right.
think anybody that, anybody who's listened to any of our Q&As, and unfortunately the people who are repeaters, our Wraith repeaters, as I call them, you have to listen to it over and over, but we always try to touch on the fact that we like to bring levity. We like to make it a good time, because if you are, in fact, stuck in a place or you're not having a good time, we like to bring the good time to them whenever we have the opportunity, because you don't want to, bring just more depression their way, and that's just our theory. We don't know exactly what's going on or the circumstance, but whatever it is, we like to, we like to have a good time ourselves. And I think energy, the energy that you put off is contagious. So
Right.
yeah, I hope at least that's true.
Yeah. And another aspect we can bring into it is the scream something that's residual. It's not intelligent. It's something that's residual and attached to it. Whereas you playing the music and putting the liquor bottles up there, that would be more classed as an intelligent haunting if it's responding to some stimulus or a trigger object that you are creating, as opposed to a scream, which may be just something that's trapped in there, like a recording that's just playing back. And I think that's what they distinguish intelligent hauntings versus the residual hauntings. And that could be why you get different types of reaction.
Right. Also, a cool thing, I think it was that same night, I believe it was, or this might have been the Pigeon Forge, where the kids' handprints were across by your section, Chris, going out to where
Yeah, like
outside on the deck.
Yeah, on the deck, they basically, and they have it in both Branson and Pigeon Forge, they've simulated the deck area temperature-wise. I don't think it's as cold as it was that night, but they try to at least simulate that area. It is very cold when you go in there. It's highly air conditioned, which is one of the reasons I always pick that spot. But it comes in handy in the summertime. But also, it's extremely active. You can't get EVPs there because it's so loud, because the air conditioner is rumbling. So I usually go to the Mel meter, the K2s, the music box, anything that can be, motion or, proximity activated. But that place has all these windows that goes into the next room. And then even the people that work there, they have claims of little handprints being on the windows. And when we're there, you'll actually see the window is clean. I tell everybody to look at the beginning of the night. Look at the windows. They just cleaned them, because they always clean them before we come. And every time we've been there, by the end of the night, there's always small handprints on there. And usually there's not anybody there that's that young that can leave such a small handprint. And I watch it pretty closely, and I can't ever recall a time when anybody was going up to the windows and just smashing their hands up there. So that is definitely interesting.
Hmm. You talk about that deck area, the bridge, or I don't know what it is, but and it simulates the outside night sky, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's cold, as you said, but just over the edge of that, if you put your hands, there's water that they've got there, and that water is at the same temperature of the ocean that those poor devils would have jumped into, because a lot of them went in with life rafts only and died of exposure pretty quickly, which was another horrible way to go. But that water is cold. You put your hands in that, that's cold.
Yeah. It's quite an experience. I mean, it's one of the more emotional ones. Not by the activity that I've gotten, but it's just, it brings, I mean, we've seen the movie, read things about Titanic, but I mean, it's really experiencing it, I think. And then some of the activity we got from each of the locations each time we've been there just kind of makes it hit home a little bit more. Like when you get that card and it's like you see, this is who I am, and you read the name, what class you were in, or what you did if you worked on a ship. And then you find out at the end if you lived or died, or if you see artifacts from that person that is you. We're not just going into a location of like, oh, there's a spirit of a soldier here, where it's like a nameless, faceless entity that you might just be communicating with. Here's, like you said at the end, the list of names. Here's everybody who died here. And you're seeing pictures of the people who died there. And you might be one of those people who died there. So it's like, and we bring trigger objects to almost every investigation we go to. We're in an area with thousands of trigger objects, you know, and that work.
Yeah.
Ours don't always work. These work.
Do you know, I read this a long time ago, that as the ship was about to set sail, I said there were 700 plus crew staff who lived in Southampton, and one bailed at the last second, went back down the steps or whatever, and he's supposed to report for duty. He said, nope, I've got bad feeling about this, and he refused to go on the trip. He had a bad feeling.
He's at home, like,
I think maybe he felt right.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine having that feeling and then hearing about it? I don't know how long it would have taken to get to him, but can you imagine hearing about that and just being like, wow, that, you know, that was some kind of cosmic thing that just happened.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible. Lucky escape. And again, what kind of premonition did that person have? He was adamant enough to lose his job by refusing to board the ship and set sail with them. But as just reiterating what Mike said, those names and faces, families, children, innocent children, their photographs are there, their belongings, a lot of them have been recovered and are on display there. But the knowledge that this is it, this is your final moments, that's just got to be something I can't ever contemplate. And I think drowning is a pretty horrific death.
Yeah.
We all, as we get older, we all start thinking about, how am I going to go? What's the method that I'm going to pop my cork? You know, how is it going to be? And I think drowning is one that that scares me to death. That there's something I hate.
Drowning and getting burned alive, I think, are probably on the top of my list.
Yeah.
I think it must start at about 40, because I'll be 40 this year, and it just starts popping in your head at random times. You wake up in the morning like, well, I wonder how I'm going to go.
You start to get more maudlin as you get older. But, you know, so many went down that didn't even get out of the ship. They were still trapped in the lower quarters and in the engine rooms and so forth. And knowing what's going to be happening, it just, well, it becomes an incredible emotional experience when I just stood there in silence and I was thinking those thoughts that those people, not that I can imagine what they were thinking, but the horrific realization that this ship is going down. And there were only enough lifeboats for half the people on board anyway. There were over 2,000 people on board and enough lifeboats for half of them.
I mean, we've been looking forward to this when we did Pigeon Forge early in the year. Been looking forward to this one. Anybody who's watching that has not been to it, Chad does it upright. We all meet together. I don't know where. I'm sure it's on Ghost Hunt Weekend's site. Like, we should meet up ahead of time. I know COVID restrictions when we're in Pigeon Forge were a little different, but usually we meet up for dinner or something like that and just kind of have a good hang time, good vibe with everybody, and then you go there. And if you've been to the museum before, you're not allowed to take pictures. You're not allowed to do anything. The place is closed just to us, and you can take all the photos you want, all the video you want, obviously. But it's just a great time all the way around. I think to start off the night like that together, like dinner together and hang time together, a couple drinks together, whatever it may be, and just kind of get into the mood of it, because I don't know, like I was saying before, I think it's a very emotional ghost hunt. You know, we're not just going out, all right, here we go, let's go knock the walls down to this prison and have a good time, see what we get. You know, it's almost more, I don't even want to say real, I don't know. It's home a little bit more.
Yeah, and I made light of it at the beginning when I said it's just a building, it's just a mock-up of a ship, it's a tourist attraction. But when you go inside, I mean, you've been to both locations, the mock-up of the staircase, that's just an incredible piece of craftsmanship. And they did the replica and the chandeliers and everything there. I mean, it's an incredibly beautiful place where they've rebuilt that, the majestic staircase that they've got there. That's quite breathtaking.
Yeah, and
yes.
lucky for the museum, back then, linoleum was like the hot thing whenever the Titanic was built, you know, and they got to save a lot of money with that because they're like, look, this is what they actually used linoleum, so we wanted to make it, you know, so. Can you imagine linoleum being like more expensive today than like tile or hardwood or something?
Bring that Italian tile. Nah, linoleum.
Yeah. So no, it is a very cool place. If you haven't been, we are going September the 25th to Titanic in Branson, Missouri. It's going to be a good time, guys. If you've never done it, you got to do it with us. You have to investigate with us and do it every time. Also, I was looking over here at some of the comments. There's been a lot. Sorry, guys. We just kind of been blasting away. There was one young lady. It was up earlier. She's wanting to know. Ian actually builds our Wraith pods. She was wanting to know if there's any more coming to the site soon because she was really interested in purchasing one.
Yes. I think we have like 2 or 3 left. So we'll see after this coming weekend. And it's the guy that builds them is slow. But oh, that's the guy that builds it.
If the request,
they take a little while. So I mean, when they come in, they go pretty quick.
yes, I can get in the parts. Is not always easy, but if you've got somebody there who wants one, you tell that person to keep in touch with you, and we will sort that out one way or another.
Absolutely, yeah. Message me, and I will put you on the list.
I always tell people whenever, you know, the Wraith pod, we bring them out in the investigations, people always ask about them. Like, yeah, they're a high-quality piece of equipment made in America by a Britishman.
Britishman.
Or an Englishman, whatever the hell.
A Brit, that'll do.
I say it's a high-quality piece of equipment made right here in America by an Englishman who lives in Atlanta.
And that's why they go like that. That's why they go like that.
Yeah.
What's up, Amy? Scuba Steve's in the house.
Scuba Steve.
Happy belated, Janelle. Happy belated birthday. Julio is here. Christy, what's up? Didn't get to say hi, Tracy. Hey, Tracy, you going to be in Rolling Hills this weekend? You good? Who else did we miss? Yeah, because I haven't even been watching these. Jamie D. But
Jamie Lynn Keller was the one who asked about the pod. So I just saw it out of my periph earlier.
Okay, there she is. I see her name.
Happy birthday, Bella. What's up, Jen?
Hey, Shay. I think Shay will be there at Brian. Yeah, I got any good fishing tips. Oh, Jen D.
What the Kale is here. Felicia Hardcastle, what's up? I saw Chad was in here earlier. Bruh.
Chad's here?
Yeah.
Chad.
Hey, Chad.
Brian Lipinski, what's up, bro?
Big Bry. So you hit up Chad. He's up here. If he's in here, you hit him up. You tell him we sent you, and to be nice, and you know, he's the guy who's going to give you the tickets. You go to ghosthuntweekends.com and tell him we sent you. Right, Chad? He's going to go, yeah. What's up, Tina? Looking forward to this weekend also.
And then he's going to go, you like that? Yeah. How you like that?
Yeah. Feels like it's been forever since we've seen you, Chad. What was it?
Was it Nickerson? Yeah. I think it was Nickerson. Which we'll be going back to this year. We got one more.
In December?
Yeah. So
Rolling Hills this coming weekend, it's sold out. Then we go, because Tracy here, see you at Octagon Mansion. The following weekend, Friday night is a dinner at Octagon Mansion, and Saturday night's investigation. And then the weekend after that,
Titanic Branson.
Titanic.
Are you coming? Are you going to be at Branson?
I won't be at Branson. Too far for me.
Then what are we talking here for?
I don't know. You asked me.
No, I think you were perfect to have on here. You hit the nail on the head when you talked earlier. You're a skeptic that always debunks, and not that you left a believer from Titanic, but you left with like, damn, this really.
I left not but I left in kind of, it's not astonishment, but really impressed with the EVPs that were coming through, that especially the Southampton one. I found it, and I've used the word a couple of times tonight, poignant. It really was. And it was a female voice almost whispering Southampton. You know, you going home, you going, you know, and as we know, a lot of crew came from there. So I couldn't explain that. And that's why I keep referring to that one. You and I have talked about that EVP several times.
Yeah.
So
really good. Yeah. I mean,
and it was a great experience. And thanks for Chad for arranging that, you know, and giving us exclusive access to the museum itself. And as you said, allowing us to take photographs and treat it as our own place for that evening.
Yeah,
absolutely. Cindy Brightwell is wanting to know if we're coming back to Iowa. Mike, aren't we going back to Iowa next year?
Yeah, let me give you the calendar. Hang on.
I know we're coming. We're going back to Melbourne. We love Melbourne Manor. That place is amazing. The guy who runs it is hilarious. We love that guy too. He's an amazing guy. Also, what's that?
We'll be in Iowa in May.
May. Okay, so we'll be there in May. So there you go. Another place though that Ian's going to join us, right, is going to be in March. March, I know for sure the 12th. We're going across the pond to Ian's homeland of over there in Europe. So we're gonna try and see what all he can show us over there. Maybe Stonehenge, but I know for sure it's gonna be the Guinness factory for sure. We're gonna get
Dublin.
on. Yeah, there you go.
In Dublin.
Whatever ferry you got to jump on or plane, we're gonna get on that. We're gonna jump over there for the day.
Yeah, I keep telling you, all you Americans think that England's this tiny little island about 10 miles across, you know, and you think, oh, we'll do Dublin at 10 o'clock in the morning, have a pint of Guinness. At 12 o'clock, we'll go and do Stonehenge.
Yep.
And at 3 o'clock, we'll be in the London, at the Tower of
We'll do
London.
Big Ben at 3.
At the top. I want to go to the top.
Yeah.
I want to have lunch at Buckingham Palace.
I want to see every castle on Tuesday. We got to hit every castle on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So how many you got? It's all good. We'll figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Day and a half.
And I hope this COVID stuff doesn't get in the way of March, and I'm looking forward to having a pint of Guinness with you.
Well, it's like I'm glad they bumped it because it was supposed to be
this
next
month.
weekend.
Yeah, next weekend.
Supposed to be next weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would have happened at all. But
they're open up. England's opened up, but it's the travel from the US over there that's still a problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's the one thing. It's like if they don't let us over there, it would suck. But I don't want to get over there and not be able to get home.
We'll get around.
There's worse places you could end up.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We'll come back. We'll come back with an Ian accent.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Yes. Good gravy.
Emma wants to know where she can go to. Emma, we go, next month in October, there's going to be 4 to choose from, 4 Thomas houses. You've been there before. So that's close to you. Bobby Mackey's, 2 of them in October. I'm just trying to think of stuff that I think would be close to you. But we're going to the Exchange Hotel. We're going down to Florida in October. So
we got Henricus. We're doing Henricus again. That'll be the very 1st of October. That'll be the first weekend, right? No, second weekend.
Second weekend. First weekend is Clay County Jail. It's actually my birthday weekend, but my birthday is going to be while we're driving home on Sunday. But we're going to celebrate it at the Ghost Hunt. So if you want to come out and say hi and happy birthday, you can come out to Florida.
It's all good, man. We'll be in Texas on my birthday, so we'll do a Texas style. I noticed you're wearing a Texas shirt. I wonder who designed it.
Ian. Ian came up with the shirt design, right?
What?
He's not.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget, December 11th we'll be in Vegas. We're gonna Vegas it up. Ian, you coming to Vegas, buddy?
We've talked about it.
Do it.
You should do it.
Bring Lisa. Let's go.
I'll talk to her as well.
You should do next weekend. You can't, because it's sold out as Rolling Hills. Next weekend, we've never been to Octagon Mansion. So we can all experience it for the first time together. I think it's going to be cool. The photos look amazing, and everybody I talked to that's been there said the place is pretty cool. A lot of people think, oh, you've been there before, you filmed there, and it's like, no, that's Octagon Hall in Kentucky. This is totally different.
Totally different place.
Yeah.
There's a hall and a mansion. We're going to the mansion.
I don't think it's that far from us. Virginia, 6-7 hours. It's got to be somewhere in that. But we passed the sign when we're going to. Where did we go last? Maybe it was Exchange or something like that. We passed the sign for it, like the big water tower. We're like, oh, this is the town where it's in. So
yeah,
it'll be fun. Well, you're coming to Thomas House.
When are I coming to 15th of October?
Okay, that's your
Friday and Saturday.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
I shall be there as well.
See right here, Octagon Mansion is awesome. See, that's what they say. That's what they say.
All right, we got time for a few more questions, and then I know Mike's got to go to bed because his bedtime is in like what, 45 minutes?
Actually, yeah, it's 7:15. Damn, it's late.
Oh man!
Hey, I got up at 2:00 this morning.
I went to bed close to then.
Well, it was like 2:30, I should say. I went fishing very early today.
Well, that's your problem, bro.
Hey, I gotta do what I gotta do. Okay, go to Belgrove Plantation. I haven't heard of it, but I would love to.
King George, Virginia. Isn't that a cigar? King Edward. That's what I'm thinking about.
All right, Karen says she's going to be at Octagon. We will see you there. Tracy, what up? What did Brian say? Let me see. September 30th.
That's when the Demi thing airs.
Yes, September. Wait, September 30th is a Thursday, but that weekend prior is Titanic, after is Florida. But yes, September 30th, unidentified, premieres on Peacock.
So you did one of 4 episodes of that, didn't you?
Yeah, it's actually the second one of the 4-episode series, but from what I'm told from our producer, it's all kind of a timeline. So I think we'll be in 3 and 4 as well, just because it all kind of connects together. From what I understand, it's very interesting.
Right, and do all the 4 episodes appear on that one day, or is it going to be over 4 weeks?
Yep, it's a binge thing. So if you want to watch them all the same day, you got them all 4 right there.
There we go. Heather says she's going to be at Titanic. Well, maybe at the Titanic this month with some friends. You should do it. Message me on Facebook. We'll talk.
When is Branson and how much are the tickets? Branson is on the 25th of this month. It's a Saturday. How much are the tickets, Mike? What are they?
I don't even know offhand. Go to our site or go to ghosthuntweekends.com or go to thewraithchasers.com. It'll bring you, that link will bring you to Ghost Hunt Weekends, and all the info is on there. I don't know off the top of my head how much it is. Here we go. Can't wait for Henricus. We can't either, John. Oh, somebody's from Ireland. It's 1:15 a.m. Well, thank you for watching.
Awesome. I can't wait to visit.
That pint of Guinness has got your name on it.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming.
Oh, look at Dawn. She bought the first ticket to Branson a year ago. Wow.
That's dedication right there, guys. You see that? We should all follow in Dawn's footsteps.
Well, awesome. Well, Ian, man, thank you for talking.
You're welcome.
Yeah, some cool info from your side of it. Your standpoint on the evening, because I didn't get to move around all night. You did, so you got to experience the violin stuff, the handprint, or the stuff with Chris that I didn't.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to be able to get a third party's experiences. And I think we're going to try to do this every week. By the way, I think we're going to try to do it every Tuesday. And we're going to try to, talk about some of the places that we're going to be investigating, give people just a little bit more information, a little bit of an idea what they're kind of getting into, some of the experiences that other people have had. Because, you know, you can't always take our word for it because, you know, you have to experience it yourself. And I think it's cool to hear other people and their experiences, because everywhere we go, it's not always us that have, you know, these awesome experiences. It's people like Ian and, you know, other people who come, and, you know, every location speaks differently to everyone. So it's really cool to get different takes on different places. So see you next time at next week on Tuesday around the same bat time, same bat channel.
I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
6:30, anywhere in between that. Depends on what's going on.
Thanks, Ian, and thanks for the wonderful pods.
Take care. You're welcome.
We and everybody else loves them.
We'll see you soon.
All right, kids. God bless.
We'll see you next week.